Okay, so this is another video where you probably want to have a notebook out just to take some notes on the last assignment. And so I probably should have said that first. This is a little bit on our last assignment for the class. So I hope you had a great holiday last week, and I hope your other final projects and papers and all that sort of thing are going well. Now that we're here at the last 2 weeks of classes, and we have that week of finals. Some of you may have finals during that other week after the classes end, but this is our last assignment, so hopefully you've had a chance to take a look at it on the afternoon that I'm recording this here on Tuesday, the 30th of November. Most of you have gotten back paper number 5 already. If you haven't, I've just a couple left from one more class. So by the time you watch this video, you'll probably have that paper back as well. And most of you already have those essays back. I'm just finishing the last couple from last week. That's it. As you can see, paper 5 was as I had mentioned before, the one of the major grades for the class. And that's why we spent all of November on it. We did that first draft, which I graded and then commented on. And then you finished it off with the edits in paper 5. So as you can tell, and as I've probably said before, these last couple of assignments that I always do in English 101 are more revision focused, because we spend the first half of the semester doing those shorter papers, getting all those ideas down, and now you've got a nice body of work that you've created over the past several weeks in this class. And so the last assignment, and I'm going to switch to the screen share here in a minute, just to kind of go through the directions with you, is a sort of shorter assignment. I think I've mentioned this before. When I have my in-person classes, I typically do this as an in-class writing over the last couple of days of the semester, as a way to kind of look back on work that you did earlier and revise it. So this is sort of a modified, online version of what I normally do for my in-person classes for English 101. So the directions are pretty straightforward. It also builds on not only the work we did in the first half of the semester, because one of the options, of course, is to do a revision of an existing paper that I had read and graded in the first half of the semester. But it also builds on the skills that you developed here in paper number 4 and number 5, because you've gone through that revision process, where you took an existing paper, went through my comments, did a reflection on it, and did the revision. So this is sort of it's actually a more miniature version of paper number 5 in some ways. It's just giving you the opportunity to go back and to revise one of those earlier papers, or to do the second options if you want to. So let me do the screen share. And as I do that, you'll kind of get a sense of maybe which one of these you want to work on if you haven't already decided. So let me enlarge this a little bit, so as I'm talking about it, you can see it a little bit more easily. So you only select one of these. I have to stress that. And you can probably see that in the past, I've occasionally had a student that did both, which is not necessary. You only do one of the two options here. So only pick one. The first one is the revision. Now, there's some stipulations with this, so let me just briefly walk you through them. I mean, everything's listed here in the directions. So if you have any questions, please email me, but it's pretty straightforward. Any paper that you did in the first half, so that's papers 1, 2, and 3. I don't use papers 4 and 5 for this, because you've already gone through the revision process. So you already revised paper 5 and expanded it and turned it into paper 4 and turned it into paper 5. So we're not going to return to that paper. If I did have any additional edits I wanted you to do on paper 5, I already would have asked you for that. That's why I also have that 5th paper due a couple weeks before the end of the semester. So if there are any other edits that have to be done, if there are any other changes that have to be made, then you're able to do that. You're able to make those changes. I don't like having major final papers due, the last week of class, or the last week of exams or something like that, because it doesn't give you a chance to revise it. So that's why I did paper 5 before the Thanksgiving holiday, so you had time to work on it, and also so that if I saw any other changes I needed you to make, which I would have asked you for. So if you got your grade back and you got the paper back, then you're all set with 5. So with this one, look back at papers 1, 2, or 3. Take a look at my comments. Now, remember, on every paper that you did this semester, I wrote comments. If you use Microsoft Word, for example, and you open it up in your email and you say, oh, there's no comments in here, remember, you have to download that paper, because the way to see the comments in the margins in Microsoft Word, you got to get it on your laptop. It has to have the Microsoft Word program for it to be able to use all those functions. And this won't matter for those of you that use Google Docs, because that's automatic. You see the comments in the margins. But Microsoft Word, remember, you do have to download the paper from your email onto your computer and then open it in Word in order to be able to see those comments in the margins. So again, if you have any issues with that, let me know. I have all of your papers on file for the whole semester. So if you lost one of them, if you didn't save it when I sent it to you and you deleted the email, I have them if you need it. So you're picking one of them. Now, for the revision option here, it has to be a B+ or lower. If it's an A or A- paper, there's no reason to revise that. Even a B+ is probably doesn't have a lot that needs to be changed in it. But I put that in there because I occasionally have a student with a B+ paper that wants to make additional changes, but nothing in the A range. So if your paper has an A or an A-, that's not eligible for a revision because it was too strong to begin with. Usually if a paper's got an A-, it may have had some really small typographical mistakes or some small element was left off, but it was a good paper otherwise. It was solid. But if you're in the B or lower range, this is a good opportunity to pick one of these earlier papers and then to bring the grade up on it, because not only does this assignment count towards this last 10 points or last 10% of the grade for the class, but it also, if you do option number 1, will allow you to bring up a previous paper grade that was maybe not your strongest. And you'll probably notice, if you go back through all those comments that I wrote in those papers in the first half of the semester, there were even cases where I would have said, this is a good option for the revision at the end of this semester. And you're going to notice that. So I may even have already mentioned to you which one I thought you should revise because, maybe you didn't do well in paper 2 and I could see that you'd had to rush it, but it had a lot of potential, or, maybe even paper number 1, since that was our first one way back. We started on that paper in August, if you can believe it. So now as far as how to go about the revision, it's very similar to what you did when you transform paper 4 into paper number 5. So you've got all my comments in the margins of your papers at the end, and those are all written in such a way that I'm guessing you might want to revise it. So go through my comments, see what I said. And so I'll kind of run you through some of these suggestions here. Once you've decided which of the first 3 papers you think you want to revise, most people will pick their lowest grade, okay, if they choose this option. Read over my comments. So what did I suggest that you fix? Read all the comments. That includes all the sentence corrections that I would have made, and make sure that they're clear to you. If anything that I mentioned or suggested or edited a couple of months back for these papers isn't clear to you, then please let me know and I'll be happy to clarify it for you. Or as I said, if you lost these papers, if you never download it when I sent it to you the first time and you can't find the email, I have all of them on file and they all have the comments on them. So I'll be happy to send it back to you if you lost that original email. I also recommend taking a look at the original directions for the paper. All of those are still up on Blackboard. In some cases, students struggle if they hadn't looked at the directions carefully or only looked at a portion of the directions. So this is also a good opportunity to go back to one of those earlier papers, especially the first or second one when we were still kind of getting our routine for the class, where you were getting used to being, writing these papers every couple of weeks. So this is a good chance to go back and look at those directions again, which has everything you need on it. The prompts are there, all the MLA reminders. If you left out sources, for example, in your works cited pages in the first half of the semester on those papers, everything that you need is still up there, including the videos. So you can also take a look at the videos. Remember, any video that I've made over the course of the semester are still listed and linked in the announcements. And there's also a master list of all of the videos under the syllabus folder on Blackboard. So you'll find all of them in numbered sequence there. So you can rewatch any of those videos. I made sure to put them in there. So there was, again, like kind of a master list of all those videos over the course of the semester, including this one. So you can go back to those. As we did with paper 4, when you turned it into paper 5, use the same file. So you don't have to remake a new file. In fact, it's actually probably even easier for me if you just make the changes that I asked for in the existing file for the paper. You don't have to start a new one. You can if it's easier for you, but I'm used to editing my own work where someone sends me a Word file back, for example, and then I make the edits and changes within that file when I'm making revisions, because it's easier for me as a writer to see what changes were asked for rather than trying to go back and forth from one file to another, having one file on my tablet and another on my computer. I just make the changes in the actual file itself. And again, it's up to you if you find that more difficult, but it seemed to work well for papers 4 and 5 and has worked well for me in the past when, I've done this assignment in that way. So just make the changes in the file. That's the easiest way to do it, whether it was a Google Doc or a Microsoft Word. And now I mentioned also here that this assignment is designed to help your grade. So it's not designed to hurt it. It's designed to solidify the grade you already have, maybe to even bring it up. So this revision assignment has the potential not only to count for these last 10 points or last 10% of the grade for the class, as I mentioned on the syllabus, but I will also replace the original grade of the paper that you're revising if the new one is stronger. Now, I won't, and this is a question I typically get in the classroom. What if the revision is actually weaker than the original paper? Well, if that's the case, the original paper grade still stands. I don't degrade, that's probably not even the correct word for that. I don't downgrade the original paper. But that could affect your grade on the this final assignment itself. If it's a weaker paper, that it still counts towards this last 10% of the grade for the class. That doesn't happen very often. In the many, many, many years I've given assignments like this at the end of the semester in English 101, I have very rarely had someone that did worse on the revision of the paper. It's only really happened in times I can remember where someone didn't prepare or did it last minute and didn't really make any changes. Again, the more changes you make based on what I suggested to you, the better you'll do. I also recommend picking, again, the weakest paper, even if you have like a B or a B plus, but you have another paper that was a C or a D, there's going to be more that you can work on with the C or the D paper. And ultimately, that's going to raise your grade more than just getting an extra couple of points for a paper that was already a B or a B plus. So that's something else to keep in mind, but ultimately it's your decision on which of these papers you might want to revise. Now, something else, and this, what I just said reminded me of an incident that I had probably almost a decade ago. All sources have to be cited. Do not plagiarize anything on this final paper. I did have a student many years ago who actually had done okay on the original paper that he was revising. I think he'd gotten maybe a C or a C plus, not bad, it's something that could easily be revised, but then he plagiarized material for his revision. So he fails, and then you fail the class on top of that. So it's not worth it. Don't go out looking for material and then splicing it in here. That's something I've mentioned all semester. Hopefully you'll remember that as you go forward into other classes. Cite your work, cite all of your sources. Do not try to cobble together material from some website that you found, because the paper is not going to end up very good. And I got to give you an F for it if you do that. So I reminded you of that here as well. One of our goals in this class was to teach you how to cite your sources correctly in MLA format and give you that sense of how to do citations, so that no matter what class you take, that requires, research sources and quotations, you have an idea of how it works, how to do the citations, how to put together a basic works cited page or references. And so that was one of our goals. So keep at it with this one. All those rules are still in place for this final assignment. Okay, so that's the first option. Now, the second one would be for those of you, as I mentioned here, that have done fairly strongly on all your papers consistently. So maybe you're already at an 89.9 for the class, or you're in the 90s, having finished paper number 5. So you've got a high B or an A in the class. And some students decide not to do another revision because they don't feel like they can bring anything new to the paper or to any of those early papers, or maybe their grades were all consistent enough that they didn't feel there was anything that needed a revision because all the grades were pretty consistent. So in that case, if you don't choose to do the revision, then this is your second option. And again, you only pick one of these. And for this one, and I typically say if you've received an A- or higher on most of the assignments for the semester, this is one to consider. I don't really recommend doing this one if you've got a paper that was a C, or you've got a paper that was like a B- or even lower than those grades, because the revisionist choice here is the one that will allow you to bring the grade up. The second one doesn't carry any revision credits. It's purely the last 10% of the class, last 10 points. Okay, so if you choose to do this one, it's a 4-paragraph essay in which I'm basically asking you to sort of even expand on some of the ideas you did in those cover sheets for paper number 5. So you're going to write a 4-paragraph essay in which you look back, as I say here, and reflect on the writing you've done this semester. So in the essay, You could talk about which was your strongest paper, which was your weakest paper. What were your writing experiences before you took this class? Are you taking English 102 next semester? Are you taking other writing classes in the spring semester? Now, to help you with this, if you choose to do this topic, I've given you a breakdown of how to organize this miniature short response essay. So it should still be double spaced, Times New Roman 12-point font, but it's a 4-paragraph essay. And as you'll see here, there's an outline for, introductory paragraph about your history as a writer, second paragraph. You can talk a little bit about which paper was your weakest. Third paragraph of the paper would talk about which paper you're most proud of. Maybe there's a couple. Again, I'm saying one, but maybe there are more. Maybe you had a couple of assignments that you liked or that you thought you did really well on. So in terms of what's in the middle of this response paper, that you have some options as to how to respond to it, because again, it's a reflection on all the work you did this semester if you choose to do this option. And then lastly, in your conclusion, this is similar actually also to what we did at the midterm with the letter, where I said at the end you can mention some things you want to work on in your writing as you get into the second half of the semester. So this is very similar, where I say in your conclusion of this short response, explain some of the aspects of your writing that you think you'd like to continue working on in English 102 and other classes that you're going to have where you'll have term papers and essays. So again, it's pretty straightforward. This option, as you could probably already notice, is built on that letter we did at the midterm, which was also about your writing, and also those cover sheets that you all filled out as you were revising paper 4 and turning it into paper number 5. Okay. So again, pretty straightforward. This is the assignment I always give at the end of English 101 after we've completed the major paper, which is papers 5 or papers 4 and 5 together because of the revision there. So let me know if you have any questions on it. I'm happy to clarify things I said on one of the earlier drafts that you did, especially in the first half of the semester. As I also mentioned, if you, for example, had lost one of those early papers, didn't download it, I have all of them on file, as I said earlier. So please make sure to get in touch with me. If you want to meet over Zoom just to talk about which paper to revise, or if you need other suggestions on it, I'm here. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. In the next video that I do, I'll talk a little bit about, just end of the semester stuff, when I turn the grades in and when you'll see those official grades for the class in your student portal. But I'll save that for the next video. And, so we won't get into that yet. And I'll probably post one more video too before these papers come in, just on other editing suggestions and things to look for as you're revising. So we got a couple of videos left here too before we wrap up the semester. So again, hope you have a good rest of the day whenever you watch this video, and please email me with any questions as you get ready to finish up this class and your other classes. Talk to you later. Bye.